Okay, so episode one. I just finished it. I just watched two episodes actually. Jesus versus Frosty, which was the very, very, very first episode that Trey and Matt created together, and then I watched Jesus versus Santa. So I'm just gonna talk about both of them in this video, just kind of like, and it'd be kind of cool to compare and contrast the two. So I forgot which one. I think it was Jesus versus Frosty, where Trey and Matt made it as a postcard for some guy to give it to his sister, and then it just kind of became an underground thing. It was either this one or the other one, but like, I don't know, what person would be like, hey, you guys have a sick sense of humor, make a postcard for my sister. I forgot the story exactly, but whatever. But it was a construction paper postcard, and from what I understand, Trey and Matt did each frame, like they did it frame by frame because it's construction paper, so it was kind of done like in the way that stop motion films are created, I believe. And it's just really interesting because like in this episode, the the boys, the way that they were drawn or put together was different from later South Park episodes. I mean, in this very, very first one, rather than having the white eyes, they had just circles with dots in them. So, and the clothing was different, just slightly. I mean, Cartman and Kenny, they had the exact same clothes on, except Stan, his color scheme was a little bit different. His hat was red, like just full on red. He was wearing a blue shirt, but he had a full on red hat, and as we know, Stan has a blue hat with a red puffball and a red stripe. Yeah. And then he he usually has a an orange jacket with an orange jacket with a green. I don't know what those hats are called, but they come. You know what I mean. You know what Kyle looks like. But in Jesus versus Frosty, it was it was a green jacket, but with a yellow hat. So that was different. But the beginning, it kind of felt as if I was watching a Charlie Brown Christmas. I don't know if that was what they were intending, but it felt like that. And I kind of thought it was funny that Stan was like, my sister in Minnesota, obviously, like, later referring to Shelley, and why is she in Minnesota? I don't even know. But it was interesting because the character that we know as Cartman, he was originally called Kenny, and I think it was Stan's character. No, it was Kyle's character. Dang, I forgot! Screams out, oh my god, Frosty killed Kenny when Cartman died. But they ran up to Santa to ask what to do, and Santa felt like Chef when they first met him. It felt like, because the boys always run to Chef whenever they have a problem, but in this one they ran up to Santa. And then the character that we know as Kenny in the orange parka, he ends up dying, and Jesus is tiny and uses his halo as a boomerang. And it was a fun episode. I think it was a really good beginning to the entire series. It was a sweet, humble beginning. And it was very interesting how Kyle, who also says this in the later South Park episodes, he says, I learned something today. Christmas is about presents, pretty much. And that is also that is repeated in Jesus versus Santa and season 4, episode 17, A Very Crappy Christmas, where at the end, they're just like, Christmas is about commercialism. So yeah, that was the first one, Jesus versus Frosty. And I wrote little notes to myself on my computer. And for the second one, which was Jesus versus Santa, I just thought it was so funny when it started out by saying, Robert T. Pooner resents, not even presents, it's resents. And it took me like a second to catch that because I'm not very smart sometimes. And the classic South Park sign was on this episode. And the boys were in their traditional clothing, the traditional colors, what we see them wear in episodes today. So I thought that was really cool. But something that I found interesting was that Stan was bashing Kyle for his Jewishness, because in the beginning they were singing, I think it was Oh Christmas Tree. They were singing a Christmas song, And then Stan stops and he was like, "You can't sing this song because Jews don't celebrate Christmas. And you have to sing a song about Hanukkah." So then Kyle starts singing Dreidel, 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 which I think is a favorite of, I think it's a favorite of Trey and Matt because it's sung again in another Christmas special from South Park. But it was very interesting to see how, in the beginning and throughout Jesus versus Santa, how Kyle and Cartman were fighting with each other. Like Kyle was calling Cartman fat, like fat boy, and then Cartman was sorry. Kyle was calling Cartman fatty and stuff like that, and Cartman was shooting back insults at him. So I think, like, in the beginning, they set it up so that Kyle and Cartman would always fight and hate each other or whatever. But, the Jesus in this episode looked like the Jesus from all the other episodes, so that was interesting. He didn't have a halo, which was, I don't know, like, it's kind of weird how in this one he did not have a halo. But another thing that I found worth noting, I should stop saying interesting, is that Stan sounds a lot like Cartman in this one, but I think it's because Trey and Matt both voice all of the characters, so I guess it just kind of ended up happening where Stan has Cartman's voice in this one, and when in the mall scene, well, it wasn't really a mall, it was more outdoor, but at Santa's little stand thing, Wendy Testaburger, she was sitting on Santa's lap. So that was the very first time that we got to see Wendy Testaburger, and I thought that was really interesting. I think Wendy Testaburger is a very good character. She progresses throughout the show, but I'll get to that at the end. But in this one, Jesus is super selfish, and then there's an epic battle between Jesus and Santa, because in Jesus versus Frosty, Jesus just pops up and throws his halo like a boomerang, and Frosty dies. But in this one, Santa and Jesus actually fight. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, a lot of kids died in this one. I think like 6 to 9. Not including what we know as Kenny. Kenny was decapitated, and then we hear Kyle scream out, "Oh my god, they killed Kenny." So, even though it's like the second time it was said, it was technically I consider it the first because this is Kenny, not Cartman being Kenny, but whatever. Yeah, something that actually made me so happy and put up a little light bulb in my head was that they were like, "What would Brian Boitano do?" And I stopped and I was like, wait, so this is where it started? Because in the South Park movie, they have a whole song about what would Brian Boitano do. And I was like, that's really random. Why would they sing about Brian Boitano? Whatever. But it's good to know, like, it warms my little heart to know that, like, it started, like, we got that joke from the very, very, very first episode. I thought that was really sweet. And, like, they didn't sing, but they said, "What would Brian Boitano do?" And it kind of makes sense now why they would have that song in that movie. Even though, like, it still kind of doesn't make any sense in the movie. It doesn't make any sense now, because, like, I know that Brian Boitano was a skater. And actually, Brian Boitano has a show. Well, he had a show on Food Network called "What Would Brian Boitano Eat?" or "What Would Brian Boitano Make?" Something around that. I think it only lasted one season, but whatever. Brian Boitano saved the day, and he gave the kid, gave the kids sense, and they were like, "Wait, guys." And then, when Brian Boitano left, the kids were like, "Hey, Santa and Jesus, you guys should just, get along and whatever." And I thought that was sweet. So Brian Boitano saved the day, actually, and it was awesome. But yes, Santa and Jesus just stopped and forgave each other. But still, the whole Brian Boitano thing just kind of makes me happy. The joke started here. I still do not get their fascination for it, honestly. But yeah, I think in the very, very beginning, Trey and Nat, it's where their humor started. And something I always appreciate about South Park is that they see something with it, they see a flaw in society or whatever. Like they find something that's like weird in society, like a flaw in society, and they point it out and they make it funny. And sometimes the only time you can get your message across is if you're funny, and they know how to do that very, very well. So yeah, like the South Park creators see that a lot of times Christmas isn't really about friendship or happiness or giving. It's just about presents, and a lot of people treat it that way, and it shouldn't. I personally don't think it should be that way. I think it should be about like giving to people and being friendly and loving to others. And as a Christian, I celebrate it for Jesus. I celebrate Christmas for Jesus. But sometimes it's really, really hard because the commercialism just gets in the way of that. And Trey and Matt have a very good platform in which to showcase their opinion, and I appreciate them for that. Probably the last thing I will note about this episode is that at the end, Kenny's bodies are taken by rats, and it's just kind of that theme has been going through, has been throughout the entire season. I think for the first 5 seasons, they killed off Kenny in every single season, and then they just kind of let it. They didn't mention him for a while, but we'll get to that. But yeah, so even in the video game, Kenny's body is taken by rats. There's a one move that Princess Kenny does where she summons her animal friends, and it's a whole bunch of rats, and if you don't mash quickly enough, I think on PC it's S. It's either S or W. If you don't mash S or W quickly enough, then she will be killed by rats. And even when Princess Kenny is killed, her body is taken off by rats. And then she revives 3 turns later, which is pretty great. But yeah, I have the video game, just saying. So, I don't know, these 2 episodes are just... I bet to them to Trey and Matt, it's kind of nostalgic. I mean, to me, it's wow, this is where it started. This is how it began, and this is where my vlog will begin. I can do this. I have faith in myself that I can watch every episode. But yeah, guys, I will put the links for Jesus versus Frosty and Jesus versus Santa in the down bar or below. I don't really know what it's called. I don't really care. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I know that this was kind of long, and they will probably all be long because I ramble a lot, but yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye.